All right, main event time. Israel Adesanya, the UFC Middleweight champion, comes in as the minus 260 betting favorite over Marvin Vettori, who comes back as a plus 220 underdog. The Nigerian-born Kiwi Adesanya is lined at plus 160 to win the fight once again by the judges' scorecards, while Vettori is a hefty plus 405 to get the decision nod. In their previous meeting, Adesanya was similarly priced at minus 235, with Vettori as the plus 210 dog. Adesanya managed to cash at plus 450 to win by decision in that fight, with the over 1.5 rounds prop coming in at plus 160. Sorry, minus 160. Let's look at the line movement in this one. Pretty interesting. Adesanya opened as a substantial minus 290 betting favorite. Saw an immediate correction, moving closer to that range of minus 235. Vettori at plus 200. And then since then, Adesanya has taken a steady stream of money and has moved back and forth between minus 270 and minus 250, currently sitting at an average line based on best fight odds of minus 268, with Vettori at plus 214 based on the average line from best fight odds. Let's look at the tail of the tape. Adesanya 20-1 as a professional with 15 wins by TKO, while his opponent Vettori holds a 17-3-1 professional record with 9 wins by submission. Adesanya will come in with a 4-inch height and 6-inch reach advantage over Vettori, and is 4 years his senior at 31 years old to Vettori's 27. UFC Middleweight betting trends. The favorite in the middleweight division has cashed at a 64.4% rate since the start of 2020, winning 47 of the last 37 bouts at men's 185 pounds, but has failed to turn a profit. So there's been value fading the favorite at plus 180 or better in this division. Then the betting total split almost exactly down the middle, with the over going 37 and 36 since the start of 2020. So we've seen a coin flip on these totals in this division. Let's take a look at Marvin Vettori's individual fighter betting trends. The most profitable way to bet Vettori in his UFC career so far has been on the fight goes the distance prop, with Vettori going to the judges' scorecards in 8 of his 10 octagon appearances, turning a profit of 6.67 units on the distance prop. And he's won 5 of his 10 UFC fights by decision, going 5-5 for plus 4.6 units on the to win by decision prop, with the over going 8-2 for plus 3.74 units since his 2016 UFC debut. As for Adesanya, the most profitable way to bet him in his UFC career has been on the to win by decision prop. He has 5 wins in his 10-fight UFC career by the judges' scorecards, plus 10.65 units on the decision prop in his UFC career since his 2018 UFC debut. He's gone the distance in 6 of his 10 fights, turning a profit of plus 4 units on the fight goes the distance prop. And he's won 9 of his 10 octagon appearances, and he's been an average favorite of minus 200 or better in those 10 fights. All right, here we go. The best bets. I think the path to victory for Marvin Vettori here is pretty clear and obvious. He needs to take Adesanya down. In their first meeting, Vettori spent 2 rounds of the fight going toe-to-toe with Israel Adesanya, which ultimately cost him the fight, losing 2 rounds to 1. And Adesanya will need to avoid getting taken down in the middle of the octagon. So it will be best for him to stay on that inner part of the cage within those two black lines. And Vettori didn't rush the takedown in the last fight, and I don't think he's going to in this fight. I would like to compare Vettori's path to victory to Blachowicz at UFC 259. But Blachowicz is very calm and cool and measured, whereas Vettori is a bit of a hothead, and he might get goaded into doing the exact same thing, into turning it into a striking battle. And if that happens, it's gonna hurt Vettori's chances of winning this fight very much. So he needs to stay measured. He needs to stay collected. And if he does end up striking with Adesanya, he can't overextend himself, where he's just swinging and missing and taking a step forward and finding himself on the outs in just perfect range for Adesanya. And we saw Adesanya's chin get tested against Blachowicz. So, I mean, I think it's a frivolous attempt at a victory if Vettori is going to try to go toe-to-toe with Adesanya again, which, I mean, if I know that and the MMA community knows that, and if he, him and his team should know that, right? So it all comes down to Vettori just sticking to the game plan and not getting overly emotional and sticking to, mixing up the takedown attempts, hiding the takedown attempt behind strikes, countering Adesanya's strikes with his own takedown. Again, similar to what with Blachowicz, what Blachowicz was able to do. And if Vettori can manage to maybe time that leg kick, the front leg kick that Adesanya throws on Vettori in their last fight, and use that as an entry for a takedown, that would be good for him. And then, of course, my man Bleed pointed out he's got to take him down in the middle of the octagon, in the middle of the cage, and away from the fence. And look, another big factor here is, we saw some 10-8 rounds in the fight against Blachowicz, which is, pretty contentious. But then let's bring this factor up. We're in Arizona, a place where the UFC doesn't go very often, a place that has a relatively young commission that's based mostly on boxing. Now, that in theory should favor Adesanya, but if we have some boxing-oriented judges, but if we have similar judges to the ones that we had at UFC 259, the ones that were dishing out 10-8s for Blachowicz's top control in those later rounds, I think Adesanya might be in some trouble. And here's why. If you end up on the bottom, you should always be trying to get up. And that's something that Adesanya has had trouble with. He kind of accepts positions at times and just, tries to survive or tries to wait out the round. And I think if he does that against Vettori, he might end up giving a 10-8 round. And if Vettori is able to stay on top of him for a good amount of time, on the flip side of that, if this is a more boxing-oriented panel of judges, that might be detrimental to Vettori, because we've seen in some fights, a guy ends up with 2 minutes of top control, but then loses the round because an opponent inflicted more damage, And when the takedown is gained, the fighter that got the takedown just stayed in position without trying to finish the fight. And that's what we saw from Vettori in the third round in that first meeting. So if Vettori ends up on top, he's going to have to implement some ground and pound at the very least, or the top control, the takedown could all end up being for nothing. And look, it's not a perfect scenario, not knowing exactly how these judges are going to be calling this fight. And that's the sad reality of MMA. But I actually just thought of something, which is, I think the last time they fought was in this exact same arena in Arizona. So we might see the same style of judging that we saw in that first fight, which would benefit Vettori, obviously, right? It's also worth mentioning Adesanya coming off his first MMA loss, which will be interesting to see if he can bounce back. Many times we've seen guys lose their undefeated record and then never be the same again. And will that happen to Adesanya, or will this lose kind of be a cornerstone moment for him? That loss against Blachowicz, he might be able to build off of it, and that remains to be seen. But all in all, when it comes to my best bets, I have to go back to, you look at this, Vettori, 5 of 10 appearances, win by decision. Adesanya, 5 of 10 appearances, win by decision. Total profits of 15.26 units between the two of them on the win by decision prop. 19 fights, 19 appearances in the octagon between the two of them. Only 6 fights have failed to go the distance. At that current price, it's minus 130 at 5 dimes, but at the current price, minus 125 at William Hill on the fight goes the distance prop, you're getting a reasonable price, for a fight that may be slow paced and uneventful for the opening rounds, for at least the first round. So you're kind of getting a freebie there, which is the case for a lot of Adesanya's fights. But it comes down to this. The fight is closer than what the odds indicate. And as much as I want to back Adesanya as a fan here, there just isn't enough value on the decision prop. And especially when you consider that the inside the distance prop and the decision prop have flipped. So the steam came in on Adesanya by decision, which has depleted that value, which is, that's what I would want, would be Adesanya by decision, but plus 160 is not enough. It's just not enough. I think I don't think we've seen him that low to win by decision in a very long time, probably since the Gastelum fight. So yeah, I think the betting value here is on Marvin Vettori. Based on what I just said about the judges, and look, I'm a big fan of Israel Adesanya, but I'm a bigger fan of value and money, and the value is on Vettori. So for Adesanya, judging by the lead up to this fight, it seems like his goal is to finish Vettori. However, again, I think it may be more realistic that the middleweight champ keeps the pace down, stays on the outside of Vettori's shooting range, and evades him as much as he can. And we've seen him take the conservative route before, going 5 rounds with Yoel Romero. But, Yoel Romero was very hesitant himself, and Vettori isn't going to be like that. But if you're going to back Adesanya here, I think the most logical way to do it would be on the decision prop. But at plus 160, I'm not a big fan. The only problem is that, you just simply aren't getting a good price. And he's never been, like I said, he hasn't been lined. Here it is. Plus 175 was the last time he was lined that short against Calvin Gastelum at UFC 236. I think that's right. It was definitely Calvin Gastelum plus 175 on the decision prop. And yeah, it's just not enough. And he was lined at an even shorter price at like plus 140 to win by decision when this first opened, and Adesanya at like plus 190 to win inside the distance. And then since then, the inside the distance prop has taken some serious money, has moved down all the way past the or just short of they're almost even. Plus 170 on inside the distance, plus 160 by decision. And so if you were going to take Adesanya by decision, you would probably want the market to come in a little bit heavier on the inside the distance prop so that you can get that what little value is left there in hopes of being able to get that plus 190 range. But that's likely not going to happen. So beyond that, don't be a sucker, because I don't think there's any value on betting Adesanya in this matchup, period. And when the market opened at minus 235, you could have made a case for the last style bender to retain. But even at 70% implied probability, you have to go the other way. We've already seen Vettori go 15 minutes against Adesanya. He managed to win on one judge's scorecard, winning 2 rounds. He's improved drastically since then. If he implements an intelligent game plan and leaves his emotions out of the fight and has a good go and doesn't basically has good luck, and he's got a lot better chance than what the odds indicate. So I'm going to take a small shot on Marvin Vettori at plus 226 at Sportbet. A very small shot, 1%, and then I'm going to take a 1 unit play on Fight Goes the Distance at minus 125 via William Hill. And those are the 2 bets that I like in this fight. And keep it tuned to sparksports.ca. We got a bunch more content coming out for UFC 263. We got best bets. We got division betting trends. And we'll be posting on Bleed's channel for Bloodshed tomorrow night and the final countdown, the pre-show and post-show. And then we'll be posting the results late tomorrow night on the Spark Sports YouTube channel. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll talk to you later.